Today we will be showing you how to install the Moderate 44 RTGO Playset. Once you have located all the tools required in order to complete the installation, make sure that you are following all the local guidelines and regulations in order to complete the installation safely. You can now start with the tower assembly section. A level and solid surface is recommended. Before setting up, please read the leveling tips in your assembly manual. You can start by unpacking the kit that we will provide for you. Make sure to locate all the necessary items in order to complete the installation. If for whatever reason there are any missing pieces, please contact us at the number listed on your screen. Locate and prepare the base bundle and locate the tower hardware bag. Arrange the items so that all 2x6s fit inside the corner brackets, and using the number 2 drive bit, fasten the bracket to the 2x6 with 2 washer head screws into the small screw holes in the bracket. Repeat this for the 3 remaining corners. To check if the base is square, measure from corner to corner, then measure the opposite corner to corner. Locate the post bundle number 1 and 2 and note the holes in each post. Start by locating the front right post, which will have extra holes at the top for the swing beam. The top 2 holes will face the front and back of the playset. Press the bottom of the front right post against the inside corner of the base and fasten it using 4 9 1/16 inch by 4 inch lags with 3 8-inch washers. Reference the manual and note that each post will be oriented so that the pre-drilled holes will be facing out. Repeat the same steps you did for the front right post for the remaining posts. Locate the floor bundle and begin by prepping one of the 48-inch 2x6s with legs and washers in each pre-drilled hole. Once prepped, align the 4 9 1/16 inch by 4 inch lags and 3 8-inch washers with the pre-drilled holes on the post and drill in. Locate the 2 remaining 44-inch 2x6s and place them into the open ends of the brackets you just installed, and make sure the joist holders are on the inside with the opening facing up. Place the final 48-inch 2x6 on the final side of the tower and fit the corner brackets over the front and back 2x6s. Fasten them to the posts using the same hardware you used on the other posts. Using the number 2 drive bit, finish fastening the brackets into the 2x6s with 3 washer head screws on the top, middle, and bottom. Lastly, place the joists on the joist hangers. You can now move on to the floor assembly section. Locate and prepare the floorboard bundle and the floor hardware bag. Place 3 of the floorboards labeled F2 perpendicular from the joist below them. Place the floorboard labeled F1 in the middle of the tower, followed by the remaining F2 floorboards. Lastly, place the floorboards labeled F3 on the outside edges of the tower and note that the corner holes should be on the outside of the tower as shown in the manual. Using the number 2 drive bit, drill 1 polybuster screw into a pre-punched corner hole. Drill the remaining screws into the pre-punched holes on all remaining floorboards. Each hole will line up with the joists and baseboards underneath. You can now move on to the railing and poly slat assembly section. Locate the railing bundle. Place the railing labeled G1 on the front of the tower with the plaque facing outward. Align the holes with the 4x4 holes and fasten to the posts with 2 9 1/16 inch lags and 3 8-inch washers, 1 per side. Repeat this process for the railing labeled G2, which will be installed on the back of the tower. Locate the 2 remaining railings labeled H and align the pre-drilled holes. Both of these railings have 4 extra holes on one side of them. These holes need to be facing up as shown in the manual. Fasten these railings using the same hardware you used for the previous railings. Locate and prepare the poly slat bundle and the poly slats hardware bag. Using the number 2 square drive bit, drill 2-inch washer head screws into the poly slat boards on each side in the pre-punched holes just enough so it is barely protruding through the other side. On the side of the tower, place the poly slat spacer labeled J in the manual, aligning the bottom of it flush with the bottom of the 2x6 board and center it on the board. With the second person holding the poly slat spacer, one at a time, install the poly slats in the grooves of the spacer and fasten the bottom screws into the 2x6. Once all the bottoms have been installed, move the spacer to the top and repeat the process for the tops of the poly slats and the opposite side of the tower. Repeat the same slat and spacer process you used for the sides and install the remaining slats on the front and back of the tower. Note that there will only be 2 slats on each side, leaving room for the slide and the ladder that you will install later on. You can now move on to the ladder assembly section. Locate the ladder and the ladder hardware bag and note that the ladder will have pre-drilled holes on one side. The holes will face the inside of the tower. Fasten the ladder to the tower using 6, 9 16th inch by 4 inch lags and 3/8 inch washers through the pre-drilled holes as shown in the manual. You can now move on to the swing frame assembly section. Place the items in the manual labeled K and L together as shown in the manual. Make sure to note that the bottom hole on K should be facing away from L. Align the holes of the two pieces and fasten them together using 2 9/16 inch by 6.5 inch bolts, 4 3/8 washers, and 2 9/16 inch locking nuts. Set the swing frame upright and place the unsupported end of L on the inner railing of the tower. Align the holes on the end of the 2x6 swing beam with the holes on the back of the 4x4 post. Fasten them together using the same hardware in the previous step. Place the item labeled M on the ground on the outside of K. Align the center hole on M with the hole at the bottom of K and fasten them together using 1 9/16 inch by 4 inch lag and a 3/8 inch washer. Place the two end braces on either side of L and align the pre-drilled holes with the bottom hole facing away from the tower. Fasten the top of the end braces to the 4x4 post using 2 9/16 inch by 4 inch lags and 3/8 inch washers. Fasten the bottom of the end braces to M using 2 9/16 inch by 3 inch lags and 3/8 inch washers. You can now move on to the roof assembly section. Locate the roof bundle. Place the items in the manual labeled P1 and O on the ground with the end holes on the O's aligning with the side holes on P1. Fasten these using 2 9/16 inch by 4 inch lags and 3/8 inch washers. Place the two O's on top of the center of the longer railings and align the holes of the L brackets with the holes on the railing. Fasten them together using 2 1/2 inch by 1.5 inch lags and 5/16 inch washers per 2x4. Place one of the P2 boards on one of the ends of the long railings. Using 2 9/16 inch by 4 inch lags and 5/16 inch washers, drill into the P2 holes and into the railing end holes so that it stays in place as shown in the manual. Drape the P2 canvas over P1. Place the other P2 board on the other end of the long railings and align the holes, then fasten using the same hardware. Finish fully fastening the other side from the previous step. You can now move on to the accessory and stake assembly section. Place the waterfall slide center on the front of the tower and position it so the holes are directly above the 2x6. Using the numbered 2 square drive bit, fasten the slide with 3 1/4 inch by 1 1/4 inch pan head screws and 5/16 inch washers. Hang the belt swings from the swing hooks on the swing beam. There will be excess chain to adjust the height of the swing to the appropriate height. Using a hammer, drive the stake into the ground perpendicular to the braces. Fasten the stakes to the swing beam using 2 1/2 inch by 1 1/2 inch lags and 2 5/16 inch washers.